Anyone present that had in mind to speak needs 3 minutes. If not, item number 1, discussion on proposed fiscal year 2026-27 budget by the Finance Department.
Yeah, we gotta get to the. Can we put it over to the budget screen?
Yes, just a second, I'm trying to get to this one.
I'm sorry.
Did it again. It's the county attorney. I won't answer that.
Can we do it all the codes? Yeah, I got the email, probably down here.
Something left unmissing.
I don't see her on here. She texted me.
She has not texted me. No text me.
Okay.
Page 2. Let's see if we can advance this.
I got my on shuffle screen, it's showing that the.
It's not letting me advance either.
Y'all try it.
Chance to call Ben.
I'll stop. I'll just.
Okay, page 2, please. Mayor, Council, thank you. The first item up is our employee health, medical, vision, and dental insurance. There's really no change on the dental and vision. However, there was some changes with the medical. We have 126 employees that are actually on this program, of which 29 utilize the HSA plan and the other 97 utilize the PPO. When we originally went out for bids this year, they came back United Health came back with a 39% increase. And so we obviously were looking around for other options, and the only other group that responded was Blue Cross Blue Shield. And after negotiating with both entities, we were able to get Blue Cross Blue Shield down to 11.28% increase, but there are some options and changes in those benefits. The largest changes are obviously moving back from United Health to Blue Cross Blue Shield. There's also a shift in calculating, instead of doing from October through September, which is our our fiscal year, we'll be shifting back to January through December, which is a calendar year. Anything that employees have paid towards their deductibles or out-of-pocket expenses from January through September of this year through United Health will still be calculated in for October through December with Blue Cross Blue Shield for a combined total. So we'll still be adding that up, and they'll still be covered for the same deductible options. The new HSA and the PPO plan under Blue Cross Blue Shield will have options for out-of-network options. And that's something that we haven't had. The most new program on here is an HMO program. That's new to our options, and of course that has no out-of-network options. There are some slight differences in co-pays and pharmacy options, and some of them went up a little, some of them went down a little. It's just it kind of balances itself out. The deductible for the family coverage for the HMO and the PPO has increased by $2,000. However, the maximum out-of-pocket for the individuals for those same HMO and PPO was decreased by $2,150. So they're kind of balancing things out. The maximum out-of-pocket for the family has a decrease of $600. The HSA plan, the deductibles and the maximums for out-of-pocket essentially remain the same because we're introducing an HRA program. So it's a health reimbursement account. So once they pay their first $3,500, then the next jump up, the city reimburses them once it's paid up to the max that's out of pocket. So those are some main differences. Because the PPO plan is considerably higher in premiums, there will be an employee cost share of $125 a pay period in addition to any dependent coverage, but they still have two options, an HSA and an HMO that are free for employee-only coverage. So they still do have options at no cost to them. So those are the main differences in the negotiations we were able to make and still keep within our budget without having to sell a kidney or anything. So do y'all have any questions or anything on our end?
Yes, ma'am. Maybe last year or 2 years ago, I think when we went to the purple card,
Brinson.
Yeah, with Brinson benefits. I think when we were looking at them, we kind of discussed HSA and city contributions to an HSA for the employees to help offset some of that deductible cost, the initial deductibles. And would we really realize any savings if we, it's too late for this year, but maybe for next year to look at the city having some contribution to the HSA for the employee
We
to help
kind of do
offset
with an
deductibles.
HRA. We'll have that help with the HRA. The city will be funding that piece of it. But this employee meets the first $3,500. So again, on the HSA program, which is the first column of the Blue Cross Blue Shield, the first $3,500 for individual deductible and the first $7,000 for the family. That's still the same. The employee covers it, but the next jump from that $3,500 to $7,500 and the $7,000 to the $15,000, that's going to be covered by an HRA. So we'll be supporting that. The city will be supporting that if
Okay.
they get to that point.
It's a chunk to come out of the employee's pocket on the front end. Maybe just look at it from if we can pencil in, and there may be a savings to the city if we negotiate that with Blue Cross Blue Shield or whoever, or United Healthcare, saying majority of the employees will be on an HSA, PPO, or that type program versus a full PPO that's typically usually more expensive coverage for
Yes.
the healthcare I don't know, just something to maybe alleviate some of the burden on the employees. And if we get some savings from the insurance company, if we go to some type of program like that. Just a thought.
Yes, sir.
It would just depend on how much we want to be self-insuring, essentially.
Correct.
Is what it is, yes, sir.
I would think there'd be some kind of break-even point, you know, what we're paying to Blue Cross Blue Shield may be here, but if we can bring up some of the employees' contributions to the employee, it may drop that cost down. I know where I previously worked, that was a struggle for a long time, and the city started contributing to the HSA and pretty much covered your deductible annually.
Yes, sir. We'll look at that next year.
Yes, this is our first foray into being self-insured. This is our first step into that, and that's one of the things that Brinson has been trying to ease us into, and especially with these premium increases of 40% coming out of the gate, it was huge. The other thing that's good with Blue Cross Blue Shield is it's a wider provider network. There are more doctors, there's more providers on it. It's one of their most expanded coverages available. The other thing is, from a pharmacy standpoint, they said that we'd be much happier with the pharmacy offerings, so that's going to be good for the employees as well.
Under the Blue Cross side.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And is this still through Brinson? Is this still through
Yes,
Brinson? Okay.
Yes.
we're keeping the
Yes.
same Brinson, and they did not increase their annual fees or anything like that this year at all.
And the employees have been pretty happy with that program, I guess.
So,
Absolutely.
I think there's several who use the purple card
Yes,
regularly.
Who have helped. It's basically harassing the doctors to get their paperwork in and push the stuff along to get the claims forms in and the approvals in so that they can get their procedures done or pre-authorizations in, really. And so, yes, I've heard a lot of very good stories about that.
Good.
Yes.
I just meant maybe for next year, if we start early enough in the renewal process to look at if there's anything we can do to help the contributions to the employee and through the HSA or the HRA.
We'll set that for when we go out next year to see if that helps us.
If it helps at all. Just,
Yes.
I mean, $3,500 for, you know, your typical employee that's a lot of money to come up with to start with till the insurance starts covered.
Are we missing anything, Jenny?
No, sir.
I've got a question, if
Yes,
you're
sir.
finished, Brad.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for this comparative sheet, that's helpful. Just want to make sure 39% compared to basically 11 and a half, that's we're up here splitting pennies and what have you, trying to make this work, and 40%, right off the bat is it's disappointing out of United, but now Branson, in general, looking at your comparative sheet here, is Branson telling us, because I'm concerned as Councilman Brundrett about the employees that are here utilizing this every day. Are they telling us that, that if we end up going with the Blue Cross and what have you, that their experience and what have you, it sounds like there's some goods and some bad, some things go up and go down, and what have you. This $125 per pay period, that's for every employee. That would be an increase over what they're currently paying.
If they chose the PPO.
If they went, then that's PPO only,
PPO only, they still have the HSA and the HMO that.
which
would be
wouldn't
at
have
zero
that
cost.
increase.
That
Okay.
would be at
So
zero cost per
is
employee.
Branson telling us that this is, if we go this route, this isn't catastrophic for the employees and what it's, again, there's some pros and cons, but I don't want to use the term even, but it seems still like a good coverage program and what have you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And United Health had some other options, they just were still very high. Blue Cross Blue Shield came in, they were more negotiable.
Okay. Well, it sounds like, any group out there that's providing health coverage to employees, be it a municipality or a private business, if they're considering between United and Blue Cross, they both seem to have comparable, and what have you. Just want to make sure we're not putting the employees that literally count on this, in a bad position. So this, Branson's okay with this consideration?
Yes.
This was actually their plan from the get-go, is what we're.
Well, as a consultant this is the kind of thing we expect them to bring to us, and okay, well, that helps me understand, and you, in talking to the employees out there, you haven't heard any super negative things about Blue Cross or anything. No one's terrified about this potential change.
This was finalized last week. Blue Cross has not been discussed with the staff yet.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Go right ahead. Thank you.
Hi, I'm gonna be the victim with the budget thing today. The first slide is comparative area taxes, including, that includes Corpus Christi, Portland, and Sinton, Ingleside, and Aransas Pass. And we are the lowest property tax rate in the area. So then, if you go to the next slide, let's see if it'll, I don't think it's going, okay. This one is a comparative because we had someone saying that we weren't comparing apples to oranges because Portland and Corpus Christi have their city-run fire departments. Ingleside and Sinton have volunteer fire departments, and as you can see, our rate is still lower than theirs, even with our volunteer fire department that we support. We just wanted to show that as a comparison. Then the next slide is inflation. Y'all have seen this, it's still 3.5. It hasn't changed. So we're still falling a little bit under the realm. Hopefully it'll go down some more, hopefully. Then the next one is the inflation plus growth. Again, we're still coming down. We're not staying level for our M&O.
Yeah, we're losing ground.
Losing ground.
Constantly, yes.
Okay. Then the next slide is one that we'll probably spend a little time on. This one is the new tax rate using the flat rate of 0.426475, the exact same as what we had last year. There is a small increase in the taxpayer's bill because their taxable value went up. Average taxable value, home value went up by $15,236 or 4% from last year, from 25 to 26. This works into an increase of $64.98 more in their property tax bill. That's with even keeping the level the same. It's due to it's due to the values going up, not the tax rate going up.
So what this is saying that right now, this current year, this is keeping the total tax rate the same.
Exactly the same.
That next year's tax rate would be the same as what it is this year, 0.426475.
And you'll notice that I highlighted two numbers down in the revenue allocation by fund. I'm going to show you where these numbers go in our budget so that you can see what the link is between what's on this form and how we use it in our budget. Can we go to the next slide?
Can I ask a question there?
Mhm.
You mind? I want to make sure, looking at this, and thank you for this graph, this is helpful. So this example that you're giving is if we choose to leave the tax rate for 26 the same as we did last year, that's no change in tax rate. That would increase potentially if someone has a home that is at this number about $64 $65 a year. All right,
That is due to the property tax
Yeah.
value going
yeah,
up,
that's
not-
and thank you for making that point. That's very
That
helpful.
is not anything that the city has done
Yeah.
with the tax rate,
Okay, so
because there's two parts to the property tax.
okay, thank you.
It's about, yes, or about $5 a month.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
The next slide, this one is where, oh, let's go on. Okay. The next slide is that the highlighted value on the form, if you'll notice, this is from our actual budget revenue summary for the general fund. That number off that form is what we use in our proposed budget. That's how we come up with what our revenues for the total year. That property tax revenue makes up 34% of the general fund's annual income at this rate. And then the property tax revenue in 25, 26 was 39%. So we've had a reduction in the amount of income that we have for this year. And that is due to, we had a loss of 27 million in property tax value due to the Prop 9, which was the one that was the business taxes. And also, there was the slowing in the increase in our property values is also causing us to lose a little bit of ground.
So we're losing, what it is as a percentage of our general fund budget, our current taxes, we're losing ground or as we're, because of inflation, because of growth, because of the, 3.5% cap, because of the loss of values, we're losing ground in our current tax revenues, overall relative to our budget. That's what she's saying.
All right, I think we're ready for the next slide. This is a graph of where we are with our increase to the tax rate versus the taxable value. You'll see we're basically level. We're staying level on that. It was like up 1% last year, and that's the freeze rate. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Then these are new taxable values per year, and you can see that they're down significantly this year, 23%. That is due to the $27 million that was taken off of. It's new
Yeah.
values, I'm
It's just
sorry.
slowing.
It's just slowing, our
Slowing.
growth is slowing. Yes, please. Then this one is the number of properties on the tax roll, and you'll say that it's basically staying flat. It was up a little bit.
Again, slowing.
Yeah. Next slide, ma'am. This is the proposed tax rate with it being the maintenance and operation is gonna be 0.241121, which is up from last year. And our interest and sinking for the debt is 0.185354. That is we now have 57% going to M&O and 43% going to debt out of our tax rate. The next slide, please. This is another one you've seen. It's the debt service, the debt avalanche. And we had no issuance. This budget does not show any new issuance of debt in 2026 with the use of the gas sale proceeds to fund the parks, 5 police officers and their equipment and vehicle and equipment replacements for this year, for 26-27. This is a graph that shows what our debt is and where we're at currently. We're at 27,907,272 is our total, but for the year for 26-27 is gonna be 4,475,462. Which ties back to that other number that I had. If you'll go to the next, well, that's further down into my, go down, that's fine.
Do you want to try that clicker?
Let me try it. No, it's not. Oh, go back one. Right there. Okay. Let me see if that's and this is from our budget book. And if you'll notice that the 4,475,448 is included in that, the INS debt servicing fund. This is directly off of, this is these funds are restricted and they're only used to pay the debt. That money is set aside by Anna at the tax collector's office, and she pays those bills or pays the money into our account. So those numbers on that sheet do have an effect on our budget and this is how it's done. Okay, so we can go to the next slide, please. This one is a response that we had last time in budget fund number 6. Just to reiterate that doing a buy down of the fund balance is not advised by the TML or by the GFOA. And then the reasons why are the property taxes always do not keep up with inflation and growth, and any setback from voter approved is locked in forever. Part of moving forward with the COPS grant was the understanding that voting for voter approved rate was mandatory moving forward. Not voting for the voter approved rate would mean the city would never catch up on operating monies to absorb the police. Thus, the grant should be rejected or severely curtailed. But those are the reasons it's not good to, also what TML and GFOA have to say about that. Okay, so I was asked to do a buy down tax rate scenario where we would take 800,000 and 400,000 out of the M&O on the tax rates to see what type of tax difference we would have on the M&O rate, because the debt rate doesn't change, but the M&O rate does change. So we started with $6,851,063, and then we lowered it, the 400,000 buy down. The property tax revenues for that are $6,617,964. So there's a difference of $233,689 versus the 400,000. Because when you're doing this, you have to take into consideration, when I adjusted 800,000, it has a weighted average, so it doesn't, when you do the other figures, like for voter approved rate, it lowers that tax rate, not by 400,000, but by a portion of it, because of the 1.035% factor that you use. So, and it's a factor of the total, M&O.
So with a $400,000 buy down, you don't
get,
You don't
like, it's
actually
not a
get
dollar for dollar.
No, right.
It's weighted. And as you can see, at 800,000, we get a difference of 647,689. It's not like I can go in there and say, we're gonna take 800,000 and it go all the way through as 800,000, because of the way the formulas are set up.
So you lose some value by trying to take it against your revenues versus taking it and using it for like a capital project. By not using it for capital, you lose some of that value.
I know it's kind of confusing, but it's the way that it's set up through the state. Because all of these numbers come off of the truth in taxation,
Yes.
and that's how she figures the rates.
Any questions while we're catching
Yeah.
our breath?
So you're saying that you did not take the 800,000 for the parks that we requested out of the
I did remove it out of the M&O.
No,
but
out of the, reserve funds. So you're saying you just took the 800,000 and put it into the tax rate, so that's what we're.
No, to be able to come up with the tax rates on here, because the only way I could adjust it 800,000 is to take it directly out of the M&O rate.
But I think the question at the last meeting was, and I understand the TML thing, but that money should have maybe not have been over and fluctuated into the reserve. We could have maybe had that decision to make that 800,000 to something that would help the tax rate. So we did not use any of the reserves that we asked from the last meeting to use that to offset some of this on the tax rate. I'm just trying to understand, like, you guys, so the reserve is still at 217 days is what I'm asking. With the tax rate, you're just putting the 800,000 in that M&O, not from the actual reserves.
That what came from the actual reserves.
So you took it out of the reserves, put it into this, to the M and O. So the,
Buy it down.
so the reserve is now back down to the 180 days. Or whatever it is.
Or whatever it is,
Yes.
yes, yes, but we, yes,
And that's back into the M and O.
yes.
And that's how you still got that tax rate. The original one you showed us a couple of pages ago.
Yes, by the 3 cents that we saw the other, on the
No.
6th.
No, the one that you saw originally is the one that it still includes the 800,000.
But is that including taking that 800,000 out of the reserves and putting it into your general fund, so we don't have to
Yes.
add that?
But what we're appropriating in this one, the 4.26475 is 2 million. It's 2 million for, the vehicles and equipment, which is including that 2 million includes the 600,000 for the policemen. And, 800,000 for parks. And, what is the other one? It's 800,000 for parks, and policemen, and the police, we're only appropriating 2,800,000. Because the payroll for the personnel comes out of personnel in the budget. But it's all included in the pot.
No, it was coming for the cops. It was taken
Yeah,
for the police.
cops.
Yes. So there was no more.
No, I understand that point. I think there's two different things being said here. So the reserve at the last meeting, we said, let's take you guys had something we can maybe do is take 800,000 from the reserves instead of doing that as a buy down for the tax rate, use that for the parks. Right? Because I understand the point that you had those three already set in the tax rate, the parks, the V&E, and the cops.
Yes.
Originally. Then we said, hey, why don't we let's have a thought here, let's take the 800,000 from the reserves, and we can maybe help offset some of that tax rate.
That is.
Okay, hold on. We initially were gonna take 800,000 out in debt for the parks. And then we said, no, we will move that to take it 800,000 out of the reserve/gas fund. So that's the disconnect. What they're showing you now is doing away with the parks and either using 400,000 or 0 for parks. The flat tax rate includes taking the 800,000 out of the reserves as opposed to taking out debt. That's the reduction in tax rate from the last meeting to get us to flat.
Okay, thank you.
And what she's showing you is what you asked me last week. You said, if we lowered the parks expenditures to 400,000 or 0, what would that do to the tax rate? So that's taking the one-time influx of funds to try to buy down the tax rate. That's what she's showing you now.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay. I guess we can go to the next, or did we, oh, and then at the bottom, you'll see in the box that our M and O rate right now is 0.2, well, for the new rate for 26-27 would be 0.241121.
Just the M&O.
Just the M and O, because the debt rate does not change. So then the M and O rate at 400,000 goes to 0.232078. And then at the 800,000, it goes to 0.216122. But to get us back up to the rate that we have, it would take us 2 years to increase our rate back up to where we are now. So we're,
approved rate at 3 down.
yes, it would take 3 years for us to, 26, 27, 27, 28, 28, 29.
And if you do the 800,
If you do the 800, it's going to be 5 years.
5 years. If nothing with the legislature changes, the
Yes.
maximum is 3.5%.
Yes. So, does anyone have any questions about that?
Yes. One more. And I know some of this issue that we're crunching these pieces of pennies up now came from that Proposition 9 out of cost and then what have, was there, whoever's working on that, was there any, potential at all? I'm gonna call it an unfunded mandate, that we got hit over the head with. Is there any opportunity, any information coming out of, our legislators or those that are working with them that get some help with this? And if the answer is no, it's no, but cause obviously it's causing us a headache here with that large loss, and they make the decision.
The answer is no. They're trying to reduce us from 3.5% to 1%, which is not even the rate of inflation. So if they reduce us to 1% this year, then that 2-year catch-up, 5-year catch-up chart just goes further out.
Yes, that makes sense. All right, so there is no rain on the horizon for that particular, I thought I'd at least ask that question, because look at what it's causing us to do here. And it doesn't sound like they're finished. They hit us with this is now what we have to deal with, and there's other things they're considering that could put us back into this position here in a few months when we're working on the budget for next year. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But anyway, long question, thank you for that.
No problem. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, this is also showing the impact for the taxpayer by doing those three. If you'll look at the top one, that's the flat rate, which is the $64.98, which I discussed earlier. If we go to the 400,000, it's gonna be $30.41. And if we go to the 800,000, it lowers it, minus $30.58.
For,
For the homeowner's average taxable value, their bill will go down a little bit, $30.
just for argument's sake, the market value versus taxable value, that's, the taxable is gonna be with their exemptions and everything else included. That's the difference in those two.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, we can go to the next one. Okay. This slide is about the water. Okay, we've been having some people complaining because we are going out of the drought and for raising our rates. We just made this one up to show, it's to illustrate how we need the increase in the water and wastewater charges for services. I mean, due to the drought, there'd been a significant decrease in water usage, and also our water rates went up significantly. The city absorbed those for the first year and then absorbed more this year. So we've resulted in a loss of like 1 million in just 25-26, a loss of 1,753,651. We had that much of a loss of expected revenue to what we're actually getting. So that the increasing the rate should help to get the water company back up on level ground.
And we will be bringing the second part of that rate increase that we have talked about to you at the end of this year.
So the water question and the water topic that you were mentioning, we all hear the discussions around town and what have you. Since we have gone from stage 3 to we're at stage 2 now, correct? And that we did make that change the other day, I think. And how that relates to the water rate increases, the pass-through and everything that we voted on here just recently. Two very different topics that are related a little bit, but they don't have that much to do with each other. The water rate increase that we voted to have put into effect here just recently was because the price of the water we're buying went up. We don't have anything to do with that. And we can't, unfortunately, we don't have the ability to assist people with paying for their water bill. The price of it went up. Now the stage 2, everybody's glad to see that. There still are some restrictions there, but the two don't have that much to do with each other, although they're both dealing with water. For those at home that are listening and wondering, how this is all going on, we have rolled back to stage 2, but we had to increase the rate of the water because, what we're being charged for it.
Yes.
And I think it's pretty clear that it was just a pass-through. We're not making any extra profit on it or anything like that. There's no profit involved. But so I hope that it helps for the folks listening explain what's going on between the stage 2, stage 3, wherever we end up being there, different times. We're currently at stage 2. But then the rate increase itself, completely different because we're purchasing the water and the price went up substantially. and we'll
Yes.
probably do again.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson should, for some reason, which we could hope, San Patricio ever lowers the rate, our structure is now set up that would automatically lower. It's a pass-through.
Yes.
Whatever they give us, we pay for. Whatever, if they go up, we go up. If they go down, we go down.
Sure,
So,
yeah, that's a
it-
very good point.
On the off chance that anything would ever go down in price, our structure is now set up that ours would go down in price as well.
Good point, thank you.
And further, again, the customer is in total control of their usage. So they are 100% control of how much they use.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're ready to go to the next one. This again is the water sales and sewer sales in gallons. As you can see, it's still going down. But working towards, hopefully, maybe they'll go up now since the drought restrictions are gone. This one shows our all funds. This is the budget. As you can see, we actually went down 5.6% from 2025 to 26 to 26-27. Even with all of the, projects that we're considering, we're still going down. That's using that 0.426-475 rate is what's built into the budget. So these are our numbers as of right now without any, and these will be the numbers that are in your proposed budget. Any questions? And that includes like the vehicles and equipment, the policemen, all the capital items. Okay, I guess we can go to the next one. The finance department is just requesting a vote on the 26-27 tax rate today to move the budget process into the next phase. Once we have the new tax rate, the tax assessor collector can provide us with the verbiage necessary to complete our property tax rate filings and finalize the budget. So that was all. And then, does anybody have any questions?
I didn't think that vote was until September.
It's not. We just accept the budget tonight and vote on it in September.
It's the vote, the
It's the
council
vote.
does a vote, and then that goes and is published. TAC will put together the verbiage, and then we'll publish that in the paper, for like the preliminary vote.
Yeah.
And then we'll have the hearing, for the tax hearing.
Because we have to vote for it, then publish it, then ratify it.
Yes.
It just has to be presented for now, and then we vote on it in September.
Brad and Robbie, one question, Mayor, if I may. Going to that page, page 4 or 5, whatever that one is, the
Okay.
first. If we look at the proposed no new revenue rate and the voter approved rate, the difference is very, I don't want to say insignificant, but it's very little, very, very minimal to the thousandth of the penny. Why is the difference, why is this just a small difference this year? And the revenue, extra revenue generated is only 72,000 if you're going through the voter approved rate versus the.
72 is just from here, isn't it? That's just from the no new revenue.
Yeah, the 72,000 shown is just the difference between no new revenue and what the voter
The
approved
voter
rate
approved rate,
is.
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't compare back to 2025. It's,
So going with the.
That would be your growth, Brad.
yeah,
Yes, ma'am. So, and that's just, there's just a very minimal amount of additional revenue going with the
Yes.
voter approved rate.
yes.
And whereas the tax burden to the resident is also going from the no new revenue rate to the voter approved rate.
It's only like
So
$9.
The last line, if we do the taxable, we're looking at 53.54 to 64.98.
Yeah.
Am I reading that
Yes.
correctly?
Yes.
So even if you go to the no new revenue rate, you still may see a increase in your tax bill
Yes,
at the end of the year, or at the beginning of the year, October.
yes, that's because the rate, the tax values
The
went up.
taxable values went up.
It has nothing to do with our tax rate.
So even if we go to the no new revenue rate, you're going to see a potential tax increase of something.
Yes,
And if we go with the voter approved rate, you're still gonna see a potential tax increase on your bill to the tune of about $9 to $10 more
yes,
than if we do the no new revenue rate.
yes.
Okay.
There really isn't a large difference.
Just because as you saw in the metrics, everything's pretty much flat. That's nothing.
Yeah.
There's just-
I think that's an important point, that even if we did consider the no new revenue, that the individual resident in the city of Rockport could potentially, most likely will, write a larger check. I think that's an important point. Thank you for pointing that out.
$50 versus $60 if we go to the voter approved rate
Yeah.
annually, again.
And if if you go with the no new revenue rate, that's the rate you start with next year. That's where it puts you behind comes in. Because you're starting with a lower rate than the previous year, and anything you need to do, you have to play catch up.
I think that between those two rates, it's so.
It's a very, very
yeah,
small
To the thousandth
amount,
of a penny.
very tiny. It's
That's-
0.0029.
Anything else?
I don't think in the past we've seen that little of a difference, between the rates.
We were trying to keep everything flat.
Go ahead.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it, I think.
Any further questions? All right.
Okay. So what do we do?
Next thing on the, next item on agenda says receive an update of 2026 tax rate calculations from Tax Assessor and discuss the proposed tax rate. I'm going to propose we don't have that yet.
Yeah, I think that's what we've been discussing, we haven't gotten that.
We're talking about the tax rate.
Yeah, the tax rate calculations are from the Tax Assessor.
And
We have-
that is, we've included that
At the bottom of the presentation.
at the bottom of the presentation. If you all wanted to go through that, we certainly could, but it is at the bottom of the presentation. I think there's like 20 pages.
And in your packets, they're all in there,
Just one.
including the break,
Yes.
those are the 400 and the 800,000.
Should
But-
put my glasses.
In case they wanted to see that.
It has all the information that we've received so far, the back and forth with the tax assessor collector, the calculations for the voter approved rate, no new revenue, de minimis. But it's what we've been talking about.
There's our notice.
It does, from what I have on here, it does also, we talked about the utility fees. The utility rate, utility fees, we've just changed. I guess we could talk about the fire fund. Are y'all wanting to mess with the fire fund or leave things kind of status quo as we have? It seems to be working, from what I've seen, it seems to be working really well since we've changed the opt-in, opt-out setup. It seems to be on the upswing now, and, it seems to be working pretty well. I don't know
If it's not broke.
Yeah, if it's not broke, let's not.
I'm-
I think we did a little bit too much that one year, and we
I agree.
seen some
We saw it did.
revenue fall off.
Yes, yes, sir.
Maybe if it's on the upswing,
If y'all are good with that.
I don't know if this is the right time to ask this. I want to make sure, Robbie, again, for those listening at home and probably my benefit as well. Is it am I understanding it that your recommendation is to stay at that 0.426, which is a flat? And that allows us to take full advantage of the COPS grant. That allows us to support the parks like we had originally anticipated. That provides for no tax rate increase on the residents in the city of Rockport. There may or may not be a increase in their appraised value. We don't have anything to do with that. But, am I understanding things? Just so the recommendation is stay at 0.426. At this point, we can do everything we wanted to do. Am I hitting them? What am I missing there? Anything? Is that just a kind of generalization for those listening?
Well, yeah, it puts us as high as we can go from a growth, from a inflation growth standpoint. It also sets us up as for in a better light to look at possibly what we can do maybe next year for what you were talking about from a insurance standpoint. It gives us possibly more options of what we can do, and it just gives the city more flexibility in what we can do. It by no means puts us, over the top of anything, because we're obviously losing ground. When we show that graph with the growth and inflation, we're obviously losing ground every year. We went from 39% to 34% in 1 year, where we lost ground just with property taxes. So we're losing ground every year regardless. So we're just trying to slow the burn. It's really what this is doing, but we're trying to get as much options as we can, because we really want what's best for the city of Rockport. We want to have those options to do what we can.
The other important part of that rate, we get the cops, we get to invest some in parks, but it also keeps our reserves at approximately 180 days.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right.
Appreciate it.
There's one other item on the agenda. Where did it go? Shelley, I think is yours. Announcements, budget, tax rate, upcoming events.
So I'm trying to pull the agenda up. So, that you have to make an announcement. You're required to make an announcement of upcoming events or when the budget is going to be adopted or the tax rate set. And we have done that on the agenda so the public knows that our goal is to adopt everything on September the 8th. And so I've listed here the approval of the ordinances, and we are working on the utility rate and the utility fees. And y'all said to leave alone the fire funds, so we will not bring that back. Public hearings on the budget and the tax rate will be held. Adoption of the budget and then adoption of the tax rate, and those are vice versa. And then we'll have to ratify the tax rate.
All right. And for the folks that see it on the agenda for tonight is accepting the tax rate. That they're required to give it to us, then a time period elapses before we take the first vote to approve it.
So tonight is to set a working tax rate, so that we can help create the budget and move forward, so they can pull the whole packet together. And then later, September the 8th is when you'll set the tax rate. It's confusing.
Anything else? Robbie, you look like you're saying.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, we're not accepting the tax rate. It's just a roll vote, I believe is what it is, or?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And then I don't think we're gonna be touching any utility fees either. I think we're just leaving those as well. It's gonna be the utility rates is what we're really gonna be.
We're just accepting the budget, is all we're doing. It's not setting a tax rate tonight.
No, sir.
No.
No, sir. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
Oh, I heard that someplace.
You'll be presenting the proposed.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Anything else for the good of the order? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned at 3:55.